what is it all for? Why? What's your purpose? I know what my purpose is, and it's not easy. And so if I can take a second for myself, I'm going to.
This episode is sponsored by Southern Utah Safe and Vault. It's one-stop shop, buy, education, delivery, everything you need with the safe or a vault door. Website is safesfirst.com. Their showroom is 1397 West, Sunset Boulevard, number 115 in St. George, Utah. Phone number is 435-767-7878. Hey guys, welcome back to the Derick Lake podcast. We're in the vault again today, episode 82. Almost said 28. Episode 82. We've been doing this a long time and it's been fun. I love meeting new people and different businesses around town and just people's backgrounds. We're going to get into a few of those things today with our two guests that we have. We have Elyssa and KerryAnn from Unity Health and Wellness. How you guys doing?
Doing
Awesome.
Good.
Yeah, happy to be here. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, I think it's going to be fun. We've talked a little bit before the podcast. I typically do. I really do it just to kind of loosen people up, get them used to talking into the mic and hearing yourself in the headphones. It's kind of weird. And then I said, stop. We just need to get going because you guys were already rattling off. So I love it. So what I want you guys to do is give us a little bit of background on yourselves, a little bit of how you guys met, maybe how you came about doing the wellness center, if I assume that's what you call it, wellness center. And we'll go from there. And then I'll kind of jump in and see where we go.
Awesome. I'm Elyssa Gallegos. I am a St. George native, born and raised here. I am passionate about the health and wellness community, and being passionate in the health and wellness community led me to a career working in home health and hospice, is where I met Matt Humphrey, who is an occupational therapist, and he worked with our geriatric patients and did occupational therapy. In that practice, I did everything from like running the nurses to the CNAs to paperwork and Medicare standards, which is super crazy and hard. But yeah, so just like office stuff, and then also field work, volunteering with the elderly care, which was also amazing. So I worked with Matt for about 5 years, on and off. I mean, he's in and out of the office, but I, in 2020, decided that I wanted a different change in my career and decided to kind of lay low, figure out what that was, and just kind of gypsy around. and the term can be kind of offensive to some people, but what I mean by that is I'm very diversified. Like I want to learn a lot and I want to experience a lot, and I want to live in different cultures and experience it all. So I decided to quit my job, live in my car with my dog, and just do it, I had saved up plenty of money, I felt like, to live within my means, and visited all of my brothers who lived in different states and my parents, and ended back up in St. George. And I think that that's just the desert. I'm a desert girl.
Yeah.
So it called me home. It has done that many times. And I belong here. I know that. But it's fun to venture out and be a gypsy sometimes. But I came back and I started working as a server, which is a trade that you can get a job anywhere. And so I've kind of relied on that. Anywhere I can go, I can kind of pick up a bartending shift or a server shift. And I started working at Balcony One, that's located in Virgin. And
woo,
yes.
Balcony One.
and I'll toot my own horn, but not really my horn. But I started working for Balcony One, and I started working for some amazing people, Cindy and George Rodinos. And they've had a lot of restaurants, but this restaurant was different. I've worked in a lot of restaurants, and I just instantly felt at home. And I think this is what kind of propelled my future with KerryAnn, is I immediately felt like family, and I've loved working at Balcony. I still work at Balcony One in Virgin, so please come visit, have dinner. I work in the bar, so please make reservations. It's amazing food, and I will toot my own horn when I say, I promise you can't get a better steak than that balcony one.
Wow. Okay.
Or service.
You haven't been there?
I haven't.
It's amazing.
So where's it at?
It's in Virgin, Utah. So
Yeah,
on
you
your way
blink
up to
your eye and you
Zion
miss
National
it, so.
Park. Yeah. And it's going to be on the left side of the highway. It's a 2-street highway. Still a small town.
Big pink building.
But it's almost like pink red, and a lot of people get confused about what it is, and also if it's a Mexican restaurant. But I think you're pleasantly surprised when you walk in. It's a Southwest steakhouse that's influenced by
Santa Fe?
Santa Fe.
Awesome.
And the desert. And Cindy, who is KerryAnn's mother, I didn't know at the time. And KerryAnn Humphrey, by the way, is married to Matt, is how I met her, and I'll get into that. But I started working for these amazing people, and like I said, it just was kind of family. And Cindy's amazing, and she's an amazing painter and
Artist.
Oh,
don't ever call
don't
her
call
a
her a painter. She's not a painter.
Cut that out. Mallory, cut it out.
She's an amazing artist. Artist in all sorts, really, truly. I mean, her work's phenomenal. And so she does that. I mean, so our restaurant is not only like a restaurant and you can get the best steak, but it's like an art gallery. And then we do live music and all of that. But anyways, Matt and KerryAnn came up for a steak one night, and I was serving, and it was kind of slow season. So she was asking me, hey, I'm Cindy's daughter, and I'm Matt's husband, and I'm so excited to meet you because my husband's raved about you and, like, told me a little bit about you and, like, what's up? And, you know, I'm like, hey, how's it going? And her energy and her, just everything about her was just kind of, like, instant connect for me. And I'm like, to be honest with you, I'm not making so much money right now because it's slow season, and so yeah, but I have a great time because I'm with my family and I couldn't work for anybody better. And she's like, oh, well, what a freaking coincidence, because I just started a business and I need an administrator. I need an assistant. I need help, you know, and I was like, hey, I literally can do that. So, I mean, I'm qualified in a lot of different areas, but it just kind of depends on what I'm feeling, and it was seriously like the most perfect timing.
Yeah, it was a good fit, right?
The most perfect timing and the most perfect fit. And that's why I say a lot of people are really attracted by our relationship, is because people don't understand if we're best friends, if she's my aunt, my mother, or just like whatever.
Sister.
And I'm like,
you can throw sister in there.
Yes. Actually, we get that a lot. And I'm like, we don't even look like each other. But it's funny because, you know, even her kids and I are really close. And so a lot of people just think that we're just family and they have no idea how I fit in, but I do. It's hilarious. And I mean, I could go to her house on a freaking Sunday morning and be like, let's cook breakfast. Who's ready for breakfast? You know? So, but anyways, this is KerryAnn Humphrey. Her and Matt are both occupational therapists. And at the time that I met her, they opened up a practice called Unity Health and Wellness. The values, the mission, all of it was totally instilled in me already. And so it was really exciting. It was like a dream come true that this lady is sitting at the bar going, I want to hire you. And I'm going, no freaking way.
Right.
Okay, this is perfect timing. You know, so, and then it's a blessing that we just clicked because we've been in it for a little over a year now, and it's been amazing every single day, ups and downs. Yeah. So, and anyways, this is KerryAnn Humphrey.
Oh, I'm like steaming my glass.
She's the emotional one.
Yeah.
And I'm the
So you guys you're right there in Hurricane, right? Right? Is it on State Street in Hurricane?
We are on State Street.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can I just have a little mention on that?
Sure.
Hurricane is still a really small town.
Yes.
And it's ever growing, which is amazing.
Yeah.
Especially as a business owner. But the freaking town, so it's a two-way highway, and then they put medians in. And so we are off Main Street, but we sit behind two other businesses and next to another business. And so the only way to get into it is kind of from like two ways, and you have to like turn into like the back streets. And so it's a little bit difficult right now. And we've been really working hard on that. But we're also working with the city because we know it's going to change. And that's hard as a business. So
what other businesses are right there? I'm pretty familiar with Hurricane.
Scree Hunting.
Okay, Scree.
We've got Rev Fitness, which is really popular. It's another gym a gym that's next to us. And then we've got a new Pizza Hut and
There
a
you
new
go.
Cypress Credit Union that just is right there on State Street. So that's kind of what we use for our landmarks,
Yep.
is because they're new and they have amazing signage that, hey, turn into them. And then just because
We're
the
right
way the
here.
meeting works, you know?
We're
I
kind of
do.
the most northern building in that
Yeah.
parking lot.
Okay.
And my building was built at the same time as those other buildings, all in 2006.
Okay.
And then sat empty until 2021.
And that's when you moved in.
15 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
And she built it out, like built the whole thing. Like she said, it sat there empty, complete concrete and windows. And she built the whole thing. And I really encourage everyone to come check it out, because the one thing that's consistent about people coming to see our space is, wow, I don't want to leave. Feels like home.
Well, that's what we talked about before we got on. You guys were talking, it's just accepting.
You know what?
There's no judgment. You
No
come
matter
in.
what place you need, we can provide that for you.
Right.
We can give you a comfortable, safe space to be, you know? And if we can't help you, we know everyone in this community, and we'll come together as a tribe
Yeah.
to help.
So what do you
to help
guys,
that individual.
what are you doing there? What do you offer? What is your specialty?
Go
What's
off.
your,
Yeah.
She's got quite a few.
So occupational therapy is one unicorn horn that I wear, because a lot of times people don't know exactly what occupational therapy is.
yeah.
The interesting thing is, if you were to go out and have a massive accident and go into the hospital, you would become accustomed with physical therapy, which everybody knows about, speech therapy, and occupational therapy. And interestingly enough, occupational therapy was actually the first of those three disciplines to come into historical existence in World War I. And we were known for working with individuals with amputation, either arm or leg amputation. And a lot of what we did was just teach people how to get back to living life. And I was telling her the other day, I took a lot of crafting classes in school, but it wasn't about learning ceramics or woodwork or whatever. It was about what we call activity analysis. And so if you as a client needed to go and learn how to drive again, I would likely be the one that would help you learn to drive again.
But more specifically, KerryAnn, for people with occupational therapy, yes, you're explaining this, but really, what does that mean to go drive again?
Well, get back to whatever your occupation is as a client. And that for an infant is breastfeeding. I specialize in breastfeeding.
Okay.
For an older adult, that might be driving, dressing, bathing, cooking, laundry, all of those kinds of things. For a young mom, that might just be being able to take care of her kids. So it really depends on who you are as the client and what it is that you want to accomplish.
Okay.
And so sometimes Elyssa will answer the phone and I hear her lovely answering the phone and talking to our client. And yes. Wait a minute. Hold. Pause. KerryAnn, can you do this?
Well,
Yes,
and
I can do that. Yes. Okay.
And I've worked with occupational therapists for a while, and I'm going, I really just put them with the old people, which is horrible.
Well, that's
What
who you worked
was
with.
until I started working for KerryAnn, because she has opened my mind to a lot of things. Working with Matt and other occupational therapists was, okay, they're really helping people that have declined in a way of they still want to keep their independence and they're not quite in their last 6 months of life or whatever it might be, but they're working towards still being independent on cooking or being able to drive and stuff like that. And that's a really, shopping. That's a really hard independence to take away from somebody.
Yeah.
And so I've seen the value from occupational therapists in that way. And that was it. And then when I started working for KerryAnn, I was like, so, but what do you do? Because
I've got this 30-year-old on the phone, and how are we going to help them?
I mean, seriously, I've got a new mom, or you want to know, it's crazy. I've had a mom call in, and we'll get into this. I guess I'm jumping the gun with her specialties, because she does specialize in a lot of amazing fields. And I've seen it change my perspective and give me a lot of insight and education on what an occupational therapist can do, what they're licensed to do, and how relevant they can be in anybody's life in any moment. You know, I mean, I've seen people in, like you say, an accident, or we've treated a 6-year-old for pelvic floor issues, or moms that are having lactation issues, or, you know, 90-year-olds that want to still do yoga. You know, it can come down to really whatever.
Or have sex.
Or have sex.
Know?
Yeah. And and really it's about all the good things in life and how
to keep
if
doing
you're not
it.
able, and how to keep doing them. And so that's what I've seen, and it's really, really unique and amazing.
Yeah, I think the independent word was when you threw that out there. I was like, I guess that's how you would explain it.
And I've really had to figure that out because I am the one that answers the phone, and I am the one that is the first point of contact when I've got a young mom or an elderly person calling me, and I'm going, well, and I've had to put that phone on hold and go, so I'm going to schedule them and we're going to help them, right? and I have no doubt because this woman's amazing. But and if we can, and Matthew, and Matthew's amazing, and he does have that niche too. And they definitely specialize in different things, but they really are an amazing duo. And then, you know,
yeah, we kind of say that we cover all stages and ages kind of through the life cycle.
Yeah.
So I worked at the hospital. I actually got to know Brandon through the neonatal intensive care unit. I worked in the neonatal intensive care unit for 17 years.
Wow.
And I worked at Intermountain Healthcare for 28 years. And ended my career in the neonatal intensive care unit and became a lactation consultant while I worked there. I'm what's called an international board certified lactation consultant, which I believe, unless somebody's moved to our area without me knowing it.
You're the only one in Southern Utah.
I'm the only one in Southern Utah that's not at the hospital, that's in private practice. And then actually in 2017, my husband and I had a house fire. Lost pretty much our whole house. And through that, learned some really amazing business things about rebuilding, about building homes, about insurance, about public adjusters, just all kinds of crazy things. And then how to move on from that and turn lemons into lemonade kind of a thing.
And she truly did. I mean,
I think you'd have to.
How do you bounce
what's the
back
alternative?
from that?
Yeah.
I mean, she did though. And that's how it was like, listen, I'm going to retire from this.
Well, my dad helped me a lot on that too. Like you were saying that he's a real estate investor and he's been smart and he's suffered some, he's actually had 2 fires, one home fire and one brush fire. But if you own property, you know, like you say, your property, even if it were empty, like if your whole property burns in your lifetime, it's never going to be worth the same or look the same or operate the same ever again. And so just learning some kind of hard lessons that you have to learn through sometimes owning things that you lose and how are you going to handle it and what are you going to do with it. And so that really created a lot of fire in me. And even like you say, I call myself a lifelong learner. And during that period of time, I was like, what am I going to do with this time? I'm kind of in a limbo where I'm living in a house that's not my own. And I'm not in a position to redo my house yet. So what am I going to do to better myself? And I actually went ahead and got my yoga teacher certification. It's something I've kind of always thought about, always dreamed about.
As a yogi. I mean, you've experienced
yoga.
I've
been a yogi for 20 years. Yogini.
A yogi?
Yogini.
Oh, I was like a yogi?
Like somebody that practiced yoga.
As a female, it's yogini. As a male,
yogini.
you would be a yogi.
Huh.
And in general, we call it yogi.
Yoga. Okay. But yeah, I've done yoga for a lot of years. Like after I had my kids, I had to find a way to reduce stress. And I started with Tai Chi. And then I ended up in yoga and really just loved yoga. So then during the house fire, I thought, I'll just get certified in yoga and I'll probably never teach, but it'll make me a better yogini.
There you go.
And then that took me to another level where then I was like teaching classes in not in an assisted living center, in the Sky Mountain clubhouse over there with elderly folks over there. Kind of started to love that and started to work with my older people, because I worked with older people when I was earlier in my career before I started working in the neonatal intensive care unit. And then I learned that occupational therapists can actually be pelvic floor therapists, which sounds like an amazing, like you went from lactation to yoga to pelvic floor therapy, but actually it ties in really well together, because we're all connected. It's mind, body, spirit, and then the top of your head all the way to the tip of your toes, you're connected. And sometimes part of what we don't like about medicine is it takes you apart in bits and pieces
from nature.
Sure.
And so it's all very organic. And so then I went ahead and became specialized as a pelvic floor therapist. And one of the things I love about pelvic floor therapy is, once again, that it encompasses all ages and stages. Babies have to learn how to potty train.
Yep, we're going through that right now.
You've got a 2-year-old, you said? Yeah. It's hard, and it's a control issue. It has a mental component, but there's also physical things that have to be intact in order for it to work. And then truly, if you have tension in your mouth, you often have tension in your pelvic floor, and you might have tension in your feet, and it's all connected too. And so anyways, it's a crazy world, because I work with babies, and I work with breastfeeding, and I work with their mouths and their tongues, and then I work with people with their breathing, and
it's all connected.
It's truly all connected.
That's awesome. You see, I've heard the occupation before, but I've never really tied it to like
anything
how broad
specific.
It is.
Right. It's very broad. And like she said, is very connected. And so one thing that I've learned, especially working for KerryAnn, and how to describe what she specializes in, because it is, when you start going down, you're like, okay, like, am I saying too much? Because it's hard. It's hard for people to really grasp. But when you're talking to a young mom and she just had her first baby, and you're giving her education about lactation therapy and lactation support, or feeding support in general, because a lot of moms or babies don't actually feed off of the breast. And so it just kind of depends. And we definitely are active in saying feeding care. But okay, so you go from that, and I'm talking to this mom, and she needs other support. And maybe it's pelvic floor therapy, or maybe it's just her body or her mind. And so
postpartum depression.
And really an occupational therapist can come in with all of those things, because that's what they do. They help you get back to living your normal life and enjoying it, and giving you purpose, and showing that you're able to do it. And so you have a mom that had a baby, and I'm not a mother, but I've really seen this with moms, and it's beautiful, truly. And trust me, it's definitely changed my mind, because motherhood, I was like, ugh, no, never. But it's so beautiful. And these women that are so strong, and to have a baby and go through all these things with themselves. And then you have an occupational therapist that's like, hey, by the way, it could be like the most simple thing. Maybe you just like need to sit here for 10 minutes and meditate, and I'll take your baby. And that's something that KerryAnn does a lot. And I've just witnessed that in her taking care of the entire span.
Yeah.
It might not just be the fact that they're there for feeding support. They're there for postpartum depression,
right,
or postpartum care, and baby care, and just having that moment for themselves. Because even though husbands are great and whatever, like it might not be the same when it might not be always the same when you're at home, you know, or like you're still like worried. But then you have like this specialist that's like, I'm taking your baby and you're okay.
Right. We're safe.
It's so different. It's so different. And
I can totally understand that.
You watch these women just melt.
Yeah.
And they enjoy themselves. And whether they're having tea or lunch, or they get that 15 minutes of just meditative, and then also on top of it, information and help and support. it's different. It's that whole spectrum where you go, whoa, they came in for this, and it's kind of simple, but in my mind, because I haven't ever been through it, right? Or, you know, for a lot of people that haven't been through it, they go, well, what do you do? And well, I'm confused. But that's what she does. And that's what I get to see is like, it's pretty special.
Yeah, I can understand that. There's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of fear. There's a lot of, I mean, we went through it. Didn't know if I ever wanted kids. I mean, I've been open about that on the podcast. I mean, William now, like, I couldn't imagine not. I mean, the kid's hilarious. Like, I look forward to seeing him every day, right?
If I ever had a kid, it would have to be hilarious. I'd have to give it back.
Yeah. Well, we thought about it a few times. That was the joke, that we knew how far all the fire stations were in case we had.
That's bad.
My mom would get so mad.
It's my type of humor.
It's a new law. So, but I didn't know that when I was a young parent. But that's a good thing to think about.
You could still drop off 21-year-old Tatum if you want. I'm just kidding. Don't air that.
Yeah, we pulled up to a fire. So there was a fire station on the way home from my mom's house, and one time we were telling my mom, like, oh, he just cries a lot. Like, we're not sleeping, and I'm running 5 businesses, and my wife's working, and she's a nurse practitioner with the trauma team in orthopedics. And so, like, she's on call. Cool. She works a lot. And I was just like, I just don't know how, like, anyone can do this. And so when we went home that night, we drove past the fire station, and we pulled in and set his car seat there and took a picture of it and sent it to my mom. She didn't think it was as funny as we did.
I love the humor. You have to have fun, especially as new parents.
Yeah.
You know, 9 times out of 10, these women come in and they just walk in and you're like, are you okay?
Yeah.
Do you want a cup of tea? And you need to talk about it. And I think that's a lot of times why our place is kind of that place. It's like you said, safe.
Right.
But it also gives people that moment that they get to be present. And we really, really, you know, that's our biggest thing is being present.
Explain that. Why do you think that is? Because it's something I've been trying to explore the last year is being a business owner, and you guys can probably relate. I'm always projecting. I'm always looking forward. I'm always pushing. I'm so close to that task all the time. I'm never looking around at anything else. So, and my son's brought that out of me of like being home and being present with them.
You have to be.
But explain that. I mean, kind of going deeper if you can, just what it means to you, why it's important
to us. We really try to lean into that work-life balance and knowing, like, even the last couple of days we've been a little bit slower, and it's like, I'm like, okay, is today a day we get to go up to Zion and just go play, you know, and go see the snow? But like, I don't know, if you can't take that time, what is it all for?
Yeah, what is it for? And I think that's how our relationship is really special, is that we both feel that way. And I was kind of like coming out of that in my own way. Like from my careers, I was like, I'm just going to go like freaking live life. Yeah. I'm sick of it.
Yeah.
And I think everybody hits that point. Whether you're young and you're paying bills, or mental health, or you just had your first baby, or you just got married, or you just started a new career, or you've been at the end of your career, or midlife crisis. We have friends that say they're going through a midlife crisis at 30. You know, and I'm like, well, what the heck is a midlife crisis? Because I feel like I've been through a lot of crisis. But here's the thing. But like, yeah, what is it all for? Why? What's your purpose? I know what my purpose is, and it's not easy. And so if I can take a second for myself, I'm going to. And I think that the biggest thing is that people are brought away from the connection to nature and their nature and human existence and human connection. And we're so afraid of all of that. We're so afraid to go spend time alone out in nature. We're so afraid to go out in nature. Some people just don't even want to go out there. They're like, I can't hike.
Too cold.
I can't. Yeah, any excuse you can imagine. But that's our primitive. That is us. We are nature, and then connection is like the biggest thing, and the second biggest thing, I think. And I'm guilty of this a lot as well, and I have a hard time. I think I'm guilty on both sides, actually. Either I'm too connected and I'm too like letting people in my life and letting it like bleed into like the things that I decide, or how I choose to live life, or how I choose my happiness. Or I choose to lean in and I connect. And I don't know, it's a lot to figure out too. It's like, wow, this is amazing. This is what I need to be alive. And I'm learning
like
a lot.
To nature.
No, to humans. And I love humans, and we're very connected to our community, and that's one of our other biggest passions. But it's hard for me too. I get overstimulated at some points where I'm like, I can't do people because they're a lot and they don't know how to connect. So I think that is it's almost not natural anymore for people to connect with each other.
Oh, 100%.
You know?
That's social media. I mean, kids younger than, like, we're in our 30s, kids younger than us, there is no connection. Their connection is likes and
it's almost
and
not good enough.
I'm totally with you. We had, and Mallory helped me out because I'm going to destroy your name, but I think it's DeCebro.
Luciana DeCebro.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And so she came on. And to be honest, so she came on, she's a yoga instructor, and then she's a what is she, Mal?
Neurologist,
yeah.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Neurologist.
And so
Dr. DeCebro,
yeah. So she came in, and it was like really the first time I'd ever talked to anyone openly and for an hour about yoga and connection and meditation and all these things, right? And so I told her, I was like, well, like we have an acre in Duck Creek on Cedar Mountain.
I love it.
I'd go up there and work on the weekends, like on the property. It's very raw. It's fallen trees, and it's a lot better now. And I said, I think I know what you're talking about. So what I do is I go up there and I start a fire because I have a lot of dead wood to burn. And so I would just start a fire and just keep feeding the fire. But then I'd find myself just sitting there in the tree in a seat, just staring at the fire. And like, I'd almost wonder like how long I'd been there, because I'd just
been sitting there for a long
I just
time.
like disconnected, and she's like, that's meditation. And she was like kind of breaking it down. And
there's a lot of forms of meditation.
Yeah. And I was like, again, like I said it jokingly to you guys, I'm like this big burly football loving gun toting guy. Right.
Me too.
And to think about like meditation, I don't do that. Right. And it opened up a lot to me. And I don't know if she realized like the turning point that was for me, that one, it's okay. Like, it's okay for a guy to do that. And two, that like we're doing it anyway. If you're going to put that name to it, put that name to it. And so I don't know, for me, it was like, and it was something that kind of helped me de-stress, like these things that it's okay to kind of sit and take a moment. It's okay when you get home from work.
Connect that word with something that you're already doing.
Yeah.
Is kind of cool. Gives you some, like something to think about next time too. Like kind of puts you in that realm of like, okay, I can do it.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
I am
awareness.
capable of doing it. Awareness.
Awareness.
Yeah. And I'll tell you what, I've been practicing yoga for, not as long as you, but I've been practicing yoga for some time, but I'm a new-ish, not new yoga teacher. She hates when I say that because it's been over a year, but I'll tell you, I think the reason why I say that is because I'm super insecure in my practice, because when I show up on my mat, it's seriously just for me. In my breath work and in my meditation is where I have to fight myself on actually practicing and actually being there for myself. And when I overcome that fight is where the magic happens. But it takes me a while. And the thing is I'm not even near. You have your own boundaries, right? You have your own mountains to climb. But I'm a totally capable teacher. I'm a good teacher. I'm a fun teacher. And I am a yoga teacher. But in my own practice, it gives me that like, oh, I can't do this. I can't show up today. I can't breathe. I can't do any of that. Yes, I can. But I have to meet myself there first. And so when I tell people, I don't care if you're a man or a woman or a child or an elderly person, I don't care if you're a freaking dog. Come meet me on the mat. Actually meet yourself on the mat first, and then meet me on your mat. And then we'll work together. And you are where you're at in your practice. Because even as a teacher, I have to stop my class sometimes and say, you guys be where you're at. I have to work on being in my breath. And that's really important and really aware. And really just being present in the moment, because we're not perfect. We're freaking humans, and we have a lot of stuff that we're going through, And so to be present is to show up for yourself. 100%. And I learn that every single freaking day that I open my eyes and take a breath. I'm going to show up for myself today. And then if I don't, at least I show up for other people, and I'm aware of the fact of the things that I get to work on for myself.
That you're struggling with. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And we struggle. We all struggle.
I mean, that's a message for anyone in any situation of anything they want to accomplish or push through. To be confident in yourself, to be able to, if you want to be the quarterback of the football team, if you want to be a framer to frame a house, whatever it is, like there's that level of fear at whatever level it is, however much fear there is, you have to push through that to get through, to be anything, to accomplish anything.
It could be as simple as waking up and getting
exactly.
out of bed.
Yeah. Whatever level. I like that. I love that you just took everyone through that whole path. And then at the end,
It's every day.
yeah, I know.
Hi, welcome to everyday life.
But that's what, we like to take yoga and we like to take it to that other level where it really is. It's just like life. It really is. And yoga can be, to me, I love the fact that you got to explore a little bit of it with Dr. DeCibro. Mm-hmm. Yoga to me, and she's heard me say this before, can be just like laying down on the floor, laying down in the bed, laying down on your mat, breathing, turning on some music, tuning into your breath, being aware. Your kind of original question was like that awareness and how William has brought that to you. Like, why is that important? We have to have that.
Isn't that a practice in itself?
Yeah.
Awareness.
Sure.
Because all the other things that we go through, I mean, you and I do that too. I mean, we can have like the craziest thing in business going on, and every day is different, right? But we showed up for ourselves. We're there. But then we have to have these moments through our day that's like, okay, we're coming back to center because we have to figure some things out. And I have to figure out first and foremost where I'm at. Mm-hmm. And I think that's really the most important thing is like once you kind of break that consciousness of you deserve your full attention and your care and your love and your consciousness. You deserve that. And you better give it to yourself because you can't give it to anybody else. I truly believe you can't. You're half-assing, pardon my French, but you're half-assing life and you're half-assing giving anything to anybody. And that's where we all go into like wearing masks and being something that we're not or like faking it till we make it. I don't believe in all of that. I believe in showing up and struggling and maybe putting on a business face because you have to, but also being real and raw. And when I told you when you come to our practice and we have no shoes on and we've got crazy music and maybe we didn't wear our hair and makeup right, being in a different practice or coming from the medical field and then being in your own practice is a lot different because you're so expected to be a certain way. And this can go with any type of business. Like and I worked for lawyers and healthcare and my own business and all these things where you go, I have to be the face and I have to be professional and I have to be this way and I have to fit in that freaking box. Not anymore. And that's kind of what like the standard we're setting. We're still professional. We're educated. We're continuous learners. We are supporters. We are people that take what we're doing seriously. But we also don't take life too seriously. Yeah. Because life is freaking short. And then if anything I've learned, especially from the people that I've been involved with and the people that I've learned from is you get to be who you want to be. And you get to do life the way you want to do it. And you get to meet other people where they're at too. I've learned that the hard way too. I'm a little much for some people. But it's about being present and about being conscious and showing up for yourself first. And then taking on everything else and everybody else and putting yourself in those situations. And I just try to do that. And if I'm not, then I have to be like, hello, Elyssa,
Well, we're blessed that we get to do that.
We're blessed that we get to do that. Mm-hmm. And I think that's our message anyways. I mean, we're gonna change. We are changing people's lives and we are going to continue to do that. And at least send a message. So we're happy to be here.
Yeah. So let me back up a little bit with you, KerryAnn. And how did you get into this? Is it something you've always wanted to do? The education? So my wife to get her master's, she's like, well, I'm going to get my RN. Mm-hmm. Well, when she got her RN, she's like, well, everyone has their BSN. And then she got her BSN, and then she's like, well, it's only 2 more years to get my master's.
Might as well.
Yeah. And I was like, well, we're young, we're working, we have no kids. Like, if you're going to do it now. And so I'm just curious, like, did you always have this dream to be this? How did you get through it?
No, I actually started out in kind of a theater major in high school, went to get my bachelor's degree in theater and decided that wasn't really for me. I felt like that a lot of people that were doing that were really egotistical, really selfish. And I was kind of like, I'm going to do something totally different. Loved being a candy striper when I was in middle school and maybe even a little younger than that. And thought, I'm going to go back to healthcare. What do I want to do? Career testing was kind of a big thing. This was in the 80s, and we did career testing, and it came up with like 3 different things that I was suited for, and occupational therapy was one of them. It seemed pretty, once again, generic, and like I could kind of do anything that I wanted to with it. I got a job as a aide in a hand therapy clinic, of all things, working with cut tendons and saw injuries, amputations of fingers and hands and all kinds of things. But I thought, okay, I'll maybe be a hand therapist, right? I mean, this is what my mentor did. And then I got into occupational therapy and actually learned about the mental health side of it.
Yeah, which they don't teach now in occupational therapy, right?
Not as much as they did. Well,
I like to say that because it's super important to me. And in her training, it was as important as the therapy side,
as the physical
to learn
therapy side,
the physical therapy side, to learn the mental health side.
Yeah.
Which I will say it really comes in handy in your profession.
Yeah.
Because you can do therapy, but sometimes it might be the mental health part that comes first.
That's the most important side. Yeah. And that applies, once again, to everybody.
Anything. Yeah.
And so loved that about occupational therapy, but then have had to work in really traditional, probably like your wife right now, really, traditional medical care system, and being kind of told, this is what you can say, and this is who you can work with, and this is how you can do it. And maybe you can dabble a little bit in that mental health side, but you can't bill for that. There's no way to actually charge for that. But knowing all the time the value of all of that. And then also growing up with a dad who was a entrepreneur, owned his own car dealerships, and then really probably made more of his money doing real estate. And he always encouraged me to not work for somebody else, to figure out a way to work for myself. Interestingly enough, physical therapy is always talked about private practice, I feel like, but not occupational therapy.
Yeah.
And so then I started to kind of think about all of these things that I had put together, all of these experiences, all of these beliefs and values that I had in my life, and how I could offer this to the public. And Utah Tech, Dixie State.
Dixie State. You call it that here.
Here we're safe. Utah Tech is starting an occupational therapy program in 2023.
Yay.
And I looked
Our school systems are growing.
Yeah, and learning about cool professions like OT. So I wanted to buy a building kind of down by Utah Tech, and maybe just a home where I could actually teach my clients activities of daily living, work in the bathroom, work in the kitchen, work in the laundry area, unreaching, squatting, all of those things in functional ways, and then maybe use the bedrooms as treatment rooms. But the city of St. George wouldn't work with me.
They wouldn't allow it, huh?
So I live 3 miles away from my building, and I found the space prior to COVID, started to kind of dream about how we could build it out. And my husband and I originally were thinking maybe like bicycles and treadmills and weights and all of that kind of stuff. But then during COVID, we pulled the offer off the table, because what was life going to be like after COVID, right? And then I actually got another training and got certified in yoga trapeze, and aerial yoga. And I put
Beams. Still beams.
Up in the ceiling. And you can come and hang upside down in my building.
Well, I kind of stalked you for a second before you guys got here, and I saw a couple pictures of that.
Yeah, and it's really cool. And
we'd love to treat you and anybody involved.
Well, I showed it to Mallory, and I'm like, what the? And she's like, you've never done that? I'm like, Mallory, I've never done yoga. She's like, you need to. So Mallory does yoga.
Awesome.
Well, every day, Mallory? Almost?
I sure try.
Yeah, right.
Not as consistent as I would like to be. But yeah, I try to do it every day.
Amen, girl.
Right? That's kind of how we are too.
Yeah.
We feel better when we do it. That's the honest to God truth.
Well, the whole laying on the ground by yourself and quiet thing sounds nice to me.
Asana is
I
everybody's
can get behind
favorite.
that.
Or I can put you in one of my swings
Yeah.
You go.
and just let you chill out.
Well, and
for a
I'll tell
while.
you, Mallory, I have, as a teacher even, as a business person, we got to keep up with business too. I've kind of fallen away from my yoga practice. And the other day, we committed to coming early outside of our business hours, which is super hard for me in the morning, and meeting another yoga teacher, which is also intimidating, especially if they're trained in the yoga that you're doing. And it's called Ashtanga. And it's pretty intense, and it's a definite, your own practice on your mat. You can get down the rhythm, but if, you can't do certain things, it's your own practice, And I'll tell you what, after that practice, I just looked at KerryAnn and I said, I'm really glad I showed up for myself today, because that was really freaking hard, and I wanted to quit quite a few times.
You
and
didn't want to show up.
I didn't want to show up. It
Quit.
was too
You didn't
early.
want to go.
I literally didn't even want to show up, and that's how I talk to everybody that is involved in yoga or that has any information about yoga or has been like, hey, I've never done yoga, but I know about it, or my wife does yoga and there's no way I can do yoga. I say, you know what? I struggle with it, and I struggle finding myself on my mat. But when I do, it's not even it's strength, it's momentum for life, but it's this awakening inside that you did something beyond what you thought you could. And I get a lot of people are like that, and in those things that are freaking hard, especially physical or mental, that you just broke out of that. I can't, and I won't, and I'm not going to. I mean, I set myself up the night before, and I'm like, how do I get out of this? And then I showed up, and it was like, all right, it's freaking life changing,
And that was Thursday, and I woke up this morning, and I'm like, I'm still sore.
Yeah, I told her, I said, okay, we did Ashtanga, which is a super really hard practice. And I'm like, I'm new to it, and it's really hard. And I'm like, all right, so we did it, and I made it through the series, so I'm good for 3 weeks of yoga. And she's like,
Nope.
You have classes 3 times a week, lady. I'm like, oh yeah, okay,
That's awesome.
I'll be here.
Let me dig in if we can.
Yeah.
Kind of on the mental health side of it. And let's talk a little bit about that, where that drive comes from for both of you.
Yeah.
And let's kind of go that direction. It seems like a lot, and I think it's because people are more willing to talk about it. We've touched mental health a lot on the podcast. We've had suicide survivors. We've had people that have struggled with pornography. We've had people that have struggled with gambling. We've had, all kinds of different levels of it. So where does that come from for you guys? How do you focus it in your business, and what do you think the benefits are?
I think especially in business, I think for her starting Unity Health and Wellness, it came with her education, but also
Well,
personally.
I have a personal side too.
Yeah. I mean, they taught it to you in education, this is, which is great, because like I mentioned, they're not doing that as often, which is, they're, I think, making it a little bit more specific, but
just like
in
you
a
guys,
lot of
as yourselves, how does that tie into your life?
personally.
I actually have struggled with depression pretty much my whole life. And in college, I had the blessing of getting to start to go to counseling, woo-woo, and saw a psychologist and a psychiatrist. And at one point in time, I believe it was my psychiatrist actually recommended that I take a break from college. And he was like, do you have plans for spring break? And I was like, no, I really don't. And he's like, I think you should go check yourself in. And so this was probably 1984. Really interesting experience. That could be a whole other podcast in and of itself, truly. But I met my first occupational therapist there.
Okay.
And was impressed with the fact that they worked in a mental health facility and that they could address those kinds of things. And then, like I say, kind of around the same time, I learned that this was something that I was supposed to be excellent at, suited for. And so that actually kind of propelled my career. And then, like I say, I worked in hand therapy for a while. But I've had a number of family members that have struggled with bipolar, depression, bipolar, really on a couple sides of my family.
Yeah, my dad's side, he struggled with it, and most of his siblings, parents, I mean, they all did. So like we were talking about, I'm not sure if we mentioned it on here before, but like I have to be very aware of that because I mean, half of my DNA is that, right?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so
Yeah.
that's pretty much what I was looking for really, is like what ties you to that? Because I could see when we brought it up before, there was some emotion on both of you guys, and that's where the drive was. And it gives it to me too, but where does it come from with you? Do you have any personal experience tying to that?
Yeah, and I want to say, unfortunately, I do.
You don't have to say unfortunately. I mean, it's something we all struggle with.
It's part of life.
For me, I think fortunately and unfortunately, right? We get this human existence, but I think that the way that we as humans have evolved, we haven't talked about mental health. We haven't kept up with mental health. And now I think, especially with social media and even in professions, like I've seen a lot of different professions, whether it's occupational therapy or psychiatrists or chiropractors or whatever, they're taking a different approach on the way that they care for their patients. And that's really important to me too. And I can get into that more of why I'm doing the things I'm doing right now. But a lot of it is fueled by the things that I have experienced in my life with mental health. I've grown up in I don't even know how to explain it. Like I grew up with a single mom, and in just kind of like a fast-paced childhood. I feel like I have very rare memories of like I had a good childhood, but I don't remember like those being in those present moments. It's hard for me to explain because like when someone's like, oh yeah, I have this like vivid memory of me being 5, I'm like, I don't remember anything vividly at that age. And, you know, and there's a lot of controversy around that. But I grew up in a fast-paced family. My mom got remarried when I was 6, and I became part of a blended family, which was good and bad. And both of my parents worked as hard as they could. I was the oldest, and so I raised my younger brothers, and just kind of became like trying to figure out how to be adult, you know, and also steer my brothers in the right direction. And my mom also dealt with a lot of health issues and mental health issues, and and my biological father in and out of prison, dealing with a lot of addiction. And my mom, same thing, addiction, and also I think mental health stuff with her backstory. And then they had children and then had a blended family, and then life was just so fast. And that's kind of like the fast forward of it is, I think in general, a lot of people just deal with life and deal with what cards they're handed, and they just do the best they freaking can. And I look at my parents and be like, man, if I were in your shoes, I'd freaking I'd hate it. I'd hate my life. I'm thankful that you guys chose to live life and like raise your kids and like actually give us some sort of life, because that would suck, you know? And I look at it a different way, and that's like my own life work, the stuff that I've done in my life as an adult. I didn't understand that when I was a teenager. I had that same hate, that same go F you attitude, and I don't really care what happens. I'm here for a good time, not a long time, because I didn't really care, you know? And I've had all of my best friends die of suicide.
A lot.
Mm-hmm. A lot. I've had a lot. And I've had a lot of close family members die by suicide. And so it has been really present in my life from a really young age until, even now, I'm almost not surprised when I get a call or when I learn, someone that I just talked to just died. It's made me kind of like a cold, bitter person, but also like somebody that's really had to come to terms with what death is. And I'm now not really sensitive to death. It's hard for me because when I talk to other people that are sensitive to it or that are just going through things, I have to remember that not everyone's gone through the same stuff that I have.
Sure.
Which I think is crazy because I think more now than ever, everybody has gone through somebody they love or themselves have gone through suicidal ideations or even attempts or whatever. And that does not exclude me. I've thought about, all right, well, I've saw what this life is like and I'm good. I don't really care about it, But then I've seen like the things that I've done in life and those people that I've like made an impression on or like warmed their heart or actually the things that I'm passionate about. And we talked about this before we started the podcast that, like you're like, I'm a quiet person and I have a podcast. My whole life, everyone's like, be quiet. You say too much. You're too loud. You're too crazy. Well, guess what? If I'm going to come out and I'm going to live this life, I'm going to come out with a freaking crazy message. And it's not going to be something that people are offended by. It's going to be something that they can probably relate to. And for me, I sound, unfortunately, because I'd give anything to hug any of those people. But at the same time, and this goes into my theory and my opinion about suicide. And I know it's not everyone's opinion, and I know it's pretty harsh to hear, but I do think it's a choice. And I really respect those people. And I can love them, and I forgive them, and I'll miss them. But I respect them, and I respect their choice, because I know life is not easy, and it's definitely not easy to get up every day and freaking choose to live. And it's not easy to choose to take your life either, and I know that for sure, because I've been there, and I also have survivors in my life, and it really depends on their story, and it depends on, what they're going through. But I have respect for all of it because the human existence isn't easy, and we don't make it easy on each other. And I think that's what, coming back to the connection part, is we forget that we can connect to ourselves in nature and to nature in itself. And when we can do that, we actually connect to each other. Because we are all one, and we all, have that heartbeat until we don't. And you can say you can miss somebody, but really, when you think about them, reach out. When you want to speak out and you want to hug somebody, you want to go outside of that realm, do it. It's spirits telling you to do it. Maybe they need it too. And I that's how I've kind of learned how to live in the present. Is I don't know if I even have after I leave here.
Yeah.
So if this is my moment, cool, and that is what fuels my fire for sure, is my experience with the people that I've lost, the people that are still living today. My brother is my definite fuel to my fire, and he's someone I've mourned his whole life. It's kind of crazy to say that, how do you mourn somebody that's been alive? They've been alive. It's that love. It's the love. And I do want to say this, actually. The purpose of my life is to love and show people love and show that they're capable of love, and that loving is very, I don't even know what the right word is to say, is like diverse. It's hard. It's easy. It's painful. It's amazing. It's that moment you'll never forget. It's in all ways, it's so hard to describe, but it's like that one thing we're all living for and hoping for and yearning for and all of that. And so that's my purpose. I choose to live because I can love, and it's definitely not easy. And so I mourn people, and I can be pessimistic, and I can show up with a bad freaking attitude sometimes, but I still show up. I still woke up and I know my purpose, and yeah, anyways, so I have a lot of fuel in my fire, and mental health is definitely the foundation of that in all ways. It doesn't have to be just suicide. I mean, I've had a lot of crazy life experiences and a lot of experiences in the medical field and healthcare and health and wellness. And I guess I'm just ready to use my voice on, all right, let's do better. We can do better. You can come with a bad attitude, trust me, but show up.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it at least.
Yeah. I always revert back to when I was a kid. I have this story with my mom, and she kind of told me it was a lot of things of how it works out is based on your attitude going into them. And I think I've told the story before, but there was a scout camp, like a day camp that they did, and it was at the Sun Bowl. And they had everyone go set up these little booths around the Sun Bowl. So I would have been 10, I don't know, 9. Well, I wouldn't, 9 or 10. And I didn't want to go. I had 3 older brothers. I wanted to be cool like them. I wanted to do the cool things they did. I didn't like being laughed at. I didn't like being made fun. I don't think anyone does, but I didn't like being made fun of. And it was just kind of like I'm a tough kid act. I didn't want to be there. None of my brothers were there. I didn't know anybody there. And anyway, I'm on the way there. So fast forward, my mom takes me. She didn't really care what my opinion of it was.
Yeah.
And
you get to go, buddy.
Yeah. And so we get on the way there, and I'm just telling her, like, I don't want to go. This is going to be stupid. And she says, I'll make you a deal. If you change your attitude right now and you go into this trying to learn something and trying to have a good time and you still hate it, like if you honestly tell yourself that you're going to have a good attitude, and when you get done, you still hate it, I'll never make you go to one of these again. And I'm like, done. I'm like,
easy deal.
This is stupid. Like, I can do that. And so I said, okay, right now I'm going to start smiling. I'm going to start acting like I'm happy to be here. And at the end, I'm never doing one of these again because I'm still going to hate it. And I was probably 30 minutes in, and it was like the most fun I'd ever had at that age, but I really tried to okay, I'm going to try and have a good attitude. I'm going to try and
I think you just explained my everyday waking up.
Right.
I love life. Yeah, I do. Okay. I can do this. Oh, but let's make myself a deal.
Right.
If I like it and I get out of it, okay.
Well, it was such a valuable thing to teach me at such a young age, and to be aware of it, at that age, to know what I just learned and what she just taught me. And I've thought about that, thousands and thousands of times throughout my life until now. And I still think okay, if this sucks and I don't want to do it, at least just put a smile on and act happy to be there, and even if the back of my head, I'm like, this is so dumb. And there's been things where I'm like, okay, I was right. This is kind of dumb, but still trying to go into it with a good attitude changes everything. And that's what I like, but kind of what you're talking about. It's like, okay, I still got to put a smile on.
Man, even if you just take those 2 seconds and I think, how many times are you taught that? You get a second in life to come back to breath. And we read something today, and I wish I actually think I take a picture of it, but it was talking about that, about, anything in life, life's still going to happen and life's still going to be all around you. But coming back to breath, and really, truly, I wish I had that because it was such a beautiful thing. And you did cry a little bit today reading it, but it's such a good reminder that you get to. This is your life. You get to take those moments and just breathe and breathe back in life and breathe back and get rid of that anxiety, get rid of that fear, because we're so conditioned to be fearful and not be good enough or have all these worries or anything. And really, if you just stop and breathe, it literally takes that away. And it's not a new trick. It's not anything that's hey, by the way, here's your prescription. This is an old human survival trick.
Yeah, and
whether you're cold, whether you're suffering, whether you're literally about to walk on stage, it doesn't matter. Take that freaking second to breathe for yourself, and it takes it away. So yeah, I think that's a big thing for mental health too,
So yesterday, true story.
Okay.
Oh,
True story.
Hey, but wait, before you go into it, have you told your mother that? I'm a big fan at telling moms, you know.
I think I told her, so she kind of works with me at my retail store.
Okay.
She runs a different business for me out of that store. And it was probably 6 months ago. I shared that with her.
Good.
And she was like, I don't think she remembered any of it. Right.
Yeah.
But the point of
is that you remember.
Yeah. Like that she had, I mean, obviously she's taught me things, but like for me to remember that so vividly, and I remembered it was the Sun Bowl, and I remembered it was, this and this and this.
What do we call those? The mom paybacks for all the things that moms do. All they need is those little paybacks.
Just a little
They're
bit.
way simple, you know, but those are huge for moms. That's why I had to ask you.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm just saying because I know quite a few moms.
Yeah.
Anyways.
But yeah, true story. Yesterday, and this is what, as you were talking about that little thing that we read out of a book every day
For our yoga practice.
Yeah, our little yoga practice.
Yoga, mental health
meditation. Today was kind of about how we in our own heads can like paint a scenario really quickly and like draw ourselves a conclusion and put ourselves in a really bad place in a really bad way in a like hurry. And yesterday, no joke, she and I had a little bit of a slow day, and I was craving something that I wanted to eat, and I'm a big cook.
A Spanish omelet. So I bet you don't know what that is, huh? I didn't either until yesterday, and I really know what it is now.
She knows what it is now. But we went ahead and we started to make it, and it starts with really good olive oil, and olive oil has a really low flash point. And I had put the wrong lid on my pan, and she and I were slicing potatoes and doing stuff. And I'm not joking. In a matter of seconds, we had a 3-foot flame in the middle of my kitchen. And I've had a house fire. I've told you this. So I looked at her, and I went into a trauma state. And in a matter of seconds, my house was burned down again. Like I saw it happening. I saw me not able to make the right moves, not able to do the right things. And this
screamed my name, and I'm going, oh my God, brain, work. Okay, water, fire. Oh wait, grease. What have I learned in my whole life? What am I supposed to do?
And once again, all the places you go really quickly. And I went into work mode. I went into mission
survival,
mode. Survival. And I walked into the pantry. I grabbed the fire extinguisher. I pulled the pin. Pull, aim, squeeze, and sweep. And
the whole flame and the entire kitchen.
My house is still here today.
Yeah.
But you know what?
Animals, house, all good. It like snowed inside and outside though.
Yeah, a little bit.
We learned that the fire extinguisher is made of mostly baking soda.
Ammonium sulfate or something like that.
So semi-toxic, but not too bad.
Yeah.
You're still here.
We're still here.
You're still doing okay.
But it is so crazy how we can take ourselves all of those places in our brain. And once again, I could have just kept on going down that trauma, panic. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm going to lose my house, Or I had a choice.
That's really how do you explain that choice? Because I really truly, if anybody listening to this podcast or anybody has any 2 cents, please get a hold of me, because this is something that I have tried to explain how, and everybody knows, maybe not everybody, but people that have been in these situations, it's that literal choice. But how do we make it? Is it out of fear? Is it out of trauma response? Is it out of what we've learned because we want to survive? Or is it because we choose to be conscious and right now and we just freaking flip that switch? Because truly, I mean, I think maybe it's all combined, because it really comes down to that second of making that choice. And I mean, we could have been in the bathroom or not there, but and it was freaking scary. We almost had a house fire yesterday. How weird. It's so crazy.
Again.
Hey, but I want to say that she did, after 5 hours of cleaning up the mess from a house fire-ish, we still cooked the Spanish omelet.
There you go.
And it was amazing.
And it's a great story.
And we still know how to live life. You know, you go through that and you're like, should we sit around and cry, or should we freaking make the omelet and live our life? You know?
Right. Look at each other being like, wow, that was crazy.
Well,
so
we did
let's get
the
the
whole
olive oil
day.
back out.
While we're eating omelet, we're like, we're here? We're meant to be here, you know?
Yeah.
So.
But you need to talk about your...
Okay, so
She already knew.
I know.
I guess we do have stuff. So going back on what you were talking about, like mental health, it all stems together. And that's kind of like my biggest thing is like the connection and everything and how to find it. And wherever you're at in your life, and if you're currently seeking better or more or finding your purpose or health and wellness or whatever it might be, it could be something small, it could be very big. It all starts somewhere, and it starts with figuring out what's best for your health and wellness. And I don't think that we're taught that. I think that we're taught that our insurance is our health care, and that we're taught that we need insurance, and that the only way to get health care is by what your insurance covers, and that you need it for catastrophic whatever might happen, right? And that stuff does happen, and it is scary, and it is expensive, and it is life-altering, and I've seen all of that. But I'm advocating for a better healthcare system in general, and that goes for emergency services and surgery and anesthesiology and all of those things that do cost a pretty penny.
Mental health.
And mental health. And really, and I look at mental health across, I think of it all across the board. Like whether you get in a car accident and you have to have life-saving surgeries, or you go in on a psychotic break and you need life-saving measures. For me, it's all the same. Medically, it's difficult. I'm also a medical biller, so I'm a jack of all trades, if I may.
You wear a lot of hats.
I love life that way. But I've seen the financial parts of it, and it's gross, and it's sad, and especially with practitioners that give up into like the money parts of it instead of actually treating a healthy community. And instead, we've switched to our healthcare system treating sick people. And so I'm really, really passionate about that because it's too late for some people. And that's where I've found myself in the medical field of trying to help people find help. And financially, or just even medically with the practitioners, or sorry, we don't do that here, you have to travel. Like, that's not feasible for everybody. And so just in general, a better healthcare system. And I've been pretty passionate about it for a lot of years, but I think working with KerryAnn, and also with a lot of amazing practitioners in our community, it lit another fire under my ass that was like, all right, well, I'm going to use this voice for some other things. So I'm doing a healthcare seminar. It's a free healthcare seminar to our community that's going to be put on by me and some of our other liaisons in the community that are hooked up with some of the most amazing practitioners who are helping you design your healthcare. And it is outside of insurance, and it's outside of anything that you've probably ever been told, even by the practitioners you've seen. And so a lot of times, I mean, when I say that, a lot of practitioners that you go see are they're going to help you fall in line with their care. That's not how we see it, and it's not the practitioners that I work with. The practitioners that I work with is if we can't help you, we know somebody who can. I'm not going to just take your money. I'm not just going to tell you everything's going to be okay.
Yeah, or your insurance covers this, so let's try that.
Or your insurance covers this, and all we can do is that, and then everything else is out of pocket. Even though you pay out of the extreme, God knows where anybody gets that money to pay for insurance. All for just what if, you know? And I get that part. And those are things that we're working on a bigger scale. But right now, what I have to introduce to my community is people that actually give a shit and that will help you. And whether it's coming for a cup of tea and sitting down with me and telling me what's going on with you and your family, and then me being able to hook you up with the right practitioners, or you starting preventative care with a chiropractor and somebody that does supplements and blood work and does home visits for lactation, or you know, you live in a rural area that you can't go anywhere. I got someone that's going to come see you. You know, like I'm well connected that way in this community that I'm going to do a free healthcare seminar to my community, our community, and put it on with these amazing practitioners that are going to help me educate our community on designing your healthcare and coming out of that, because it starts with you. It starts with family planning. It starts with financial planning. It starts with healthcare planning. And if you give any care about your life, And it's hard. I get that. But again, education is a big thing too. I think that with my own healthcare and my own journey, same. I go through financial issues. I go through things that are unexpected. I go through things where I'm like, well, what if I had an emergency? What would I do? Well, it starts by planning. I'm financially planning with somebody that I trust, that has my best interest, that's going to steer me in the right direction so that if anything catastrophic happens, I can figure it out and I'll be okay. And then outside of that, I get to design exactly what I want for my healthcare and the things that I'm interested in, whether it's plant medicine or these retreats that are not like traditional medicine, Western medicine, you know, kind of taps more into like the Eastern medicine and like the woo-woo is what we call it, right? But like truly, and I won't say all of the woo-woo is all good, you know, it's just like the medical field, you know, you kind of have to design what's good for you. That is my voice, and I know how to direct people in that right way. And so that is something that I'm passionate about, that I'm getting ready to do, and it's not easy and it's big, but it's worth it because, like I said, I'm trying to use my voice and I'm very passionate about it. And I think it starts with mental health and financial planning.
So how are you structuring that? Are you doing in person? Are you doing Zoom calls? Are you doing...
No. So I'm actually looking to nail down all of the details right now. I've been working on this for a little while and would like to do it sooner than later, unfortunately, because it is a huge event and I'm working with all these amazing practitioners that are so busy in their own practices and with their own patients and with our community already. And so trying to get everybody organized is a whole ordeal.
It's gonna be an online, or it's gonna be a live thing.
But it's gonna be an in-person thing, and I'm hoping to do it at a really amazing new place. And I'm not gonna say any details because I'm excited for it to all come out. But I hope that I have your support as well. And really, it's free to our freaking community. Like, I'm making this free because I get it. And for me, I'm kind of like that pessimist, like, outlook. I'm like, well, would I show up? Well, like, if it's not like during business hours, then I'm not going out after hours. Like, I'm not going to do that, you know? Like, I can come up with every freaking excuse. So I kind of go against myself. I'm like, well, how do I make it so good that you would freaking show up, Elyssa?
Yeah.
You know, so that's kind of the thing, is that's what I'm doing, like that fight on myself, but also the practitioners that we have, like once you, and most of our community already knows these people. So that's the good thing, is like people are already going to recognize these names.
Yeah.
And they're already going to come because it's going to be fun. We're going to have giveaways. You're going to meet practitioners. You're going to be able to like open up what your healthcare is. And that's my biggest thing. Like, what's healthcare to you?
Me?
Mm-hmm.
Just my wife.
I love
William.
Hey,
And William. I
Let's
just
give a round
trust
of applause
her.
for women and keeping their men in freaking check. Yeah, we know.
So my mom
Appointments,
was like
supplements, the whole jam.
my
Right?
mom was a CNA growing up. She was in the medical field. She actually worked in
I think
labor
I know
and delivery.
Lori.
Yeah, Lori.
I know
Yeah, my
Lori.
mom.
I was going to ask if
Yeah.
that was your mom.
We-
I don't know why I knew that.
Well,
Okay.
and also we know a lot of people in the community.
Well, yeah, and so
Chances are we probably know it.
like when I got married, I still take care of everything. I run all the bank accounts, around the businesses.
Mm-hmm.
I do all of it except medical
Healthcare.
insurance and the doctor's appointments. And
That's
and
what
like
she does.
even a few years into our marriage, my mom still would call and get me doctor's appointments because like
That's a
it
good
was just a
woman.
weird thing, you know, that my mom just always took care of. So I didn't know how to, and to call what doctor for what, you know, and so yeah, it's just kind of funny. I take care of everything except for that. So when people say, well, what about this? I say, I don't know, dude. I just ask Amanda. Yeah. She tells me.
I like to ask because it helps me communicate to people like you. And there are a lot of people like you that...
Good looking, tall, handsome. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Check. Yeah.
All the above.
All the above. No, but, and truly our men, right? And our men in our community are right at that level of like, well, I'm not really sure.
Yeah, who can I trust?
Well, and then here's what I
most of
think
it.
when I hear you is, what do you need? Mentally, physically, emotionally, nutritionally, a moment in time for yourself. What do you need? And have you sat down and really thought about that? Because I can tell you that a lot of men in my life have no freaking idea how even to wipe their own ass. You know,
I do that.
Good. You know what I mean? But you're taught that way, or we condition our men that you are the provider, and you're the strong one, and you're the one that has the arms for everybody who's falling, and we need you, and we need you to be strong, and all of those things. But all of those things also incorporate, actually, they can't be unless you have that will to take care of yourself and nurture yourself and give to yourself. I mean, you can do your damn best.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that there's more of you. And even for yourself and for your family and for your wife and for your mother or your neighbor or whoever you come into contact with. Because there's more for yourself that you're not even tapping into. And when you do that, and we are advocates with that. And I don't want to single you out, because this is a conversation that we have quite a bit. And it's with men. And we really care about our men. And they are absolutely necessary in my mind. And I don't want to get into the whole gender thing, because, you know, that's beyond me. And I support whatever. But here's the thing is, every single human being deserves to take that moment of breath and really figure out what they need and voice it and rely on themselves. And I hate getting crazy and but this is what it's about, right? Like, what if you didn't have her or your mom?
Sure.
And that happens.
Yeah.
And that happens to women too. They've never balanced a checkbook or have no idea what's going on with their finances, and then their husband dies.
Checkbook, what's that?
Right? What's a Rolodex, sucker? Yeah. Just kidding. But you know, it's about living individually and having that purpose and knowing what that is and how to take care of yourself first and foremost, so that you can show up for yourself and then show up for everybody else.
Right.
And that's kind of my thing, you know, and helping people design that and know what's important. And it starts with financial planning, family planning, healthcare, individually for your family, for your children. And it gets broken down really specifically, because we do specify in a lot of things. Like, I don't know how to be a parent. I have no idea. The first thing, I watch childbirth and I'm like, oh my God, these women that do that, oh my God, they are seriously superhuman. Like, my Lord.
I mean, it's true. Yeah, you're right.
I can't even, you know. So, but
I've been there.
When you talk about having children and planning, what I've learned from her and working with these families is it does take a lot of planning, and it takes a lot of responsibility, and it takes a lot of self-work. Like, if you're an effed up person and you're bringing a child in this world, that's not really fair, you know? And good, they're a blessing, and hopefully they change this world. But, you know, that's kind of the sick cycle that we live in as humans. And so I think that's all of my passion, right? Like, there's a lot to it. It's just I'm sitting on burning coals. I guess. I really want to see the healthcare change, and I want to see people more than anything give a shit about it and care about their own health. I've struggled with mine. And I've wished that I had somebody to kick me in my butt or tell me more information or be on my side or point me in the right direction. So that's kind of what I'm doing. I say all the time, you know, I'm surrounded by all these practitioners, and they go, oh, what are you? Are you a doctor? All this stuff. And I go, hell no. But I'm the liaison that brings all these people together.
Right.
Because that's what I do. You know, that's truly what I do. And I love all these people, and I believe in them. And I know that their values and their mission and their work that I see, it matters. And it aligns with exactly what I've been talking about. So,
do you have is there a way for people to follow that?
Yeah. So I would say, as of right now, it's like I said,
follow our Instagram. We
really
do a lot of
it on there.
We have a lot of stuff on Instagram. We talk about a lot of causes.
I think that's our main avenue of social media.
What is that? What's your Instagram?
Unity Health Utah.
Okay.
And we will be putting out some more information. I think that if I can get a little more ambitious, I may start a podcast. But
Unity podcast. Here we go.
Yeah. So, but I think I need some more.
You don't
advice.
need more ambition. You're fine, dude. I had no idea what I was doing when I started this. I just did like a little, I don't know, 10-minute. It probably wasn't even 10 minutes. Probably 7-minute monologue of like, "Hey, I'm Derick Legg, starting a podcast.
Yeah.
I don't know what this is going to be about. I hope people listen, and if it helps one person, the whole thing's worth it."
Hey, I love that. And actually, even I believe in that. If like having a smile on your face, like truly putting a smile on my face in the grocery store is the hardest thing in my life. But if I can do it and I can change someone else's life, fine.
Well, when you start yours, I want to be on it.
Okay.
Cool.
Okay.
Oh my God, that's exciting. No, yeah, and I don't know. Like I say that, and then I'm like,
Put a date to it.
oh my God. Well,
Put a date.
first of all, let me get through my
This
seminar.
event.
I'm like, I truly get these ambitions, but it's because I'm surrounded by amazing people, and I see other people, and I hear other people's stories, just like you. You know,
Right.
like
Just
I
do
am that source where I get to.
Well, like I'm an oversharer is how I put it. And so being an oversharer, people tend to overshare to me. And that's where all this whole thing started. And I would start talking to people. I'm like, wait, you did what? What happened to your mom?
You asked
your brother
questions.
did this, and I would just like get these crazy stories out of people. And I'm like,
Excuse me, what?
yeah, you're just the teller at the bank, and so that's what started this whole thing was the famous people in my town, right? The famous people no one will ever meet.
Right.
And that's kind of where this whole thing came about.
Well, and I'll be honest with you. We at Unity, one of our biggest things is whether we're hiring somebody or whether we have a volunteer coming in or we're working with a new practitioner or we're scheduling an event or anything. Our first go-to is come have a cup of tea with us. Let's chat and get to know each other, because I think humans are interesting, and I think that you can work or you don't work, and then or there's it just can flow, and I love the flow. And it just kind of like makes it like homey and less like, okay, you're starting a new job or like you're doing a new yoga class. I hate that. Like, it's just like, I hate showing up like that and being like nervous. Like, so we've opened up our home, and everyone says that it feels like a house in here. We love it. We don't want to leave. I'm like, yeah, come be at home, come have a cup of tea with us. Come see what we're about. Come see our space. We do, free 15-minute discovery classes with KerryAnn or I. We have a lot of free offerings. I would say just keep up with Unity Health and Wellness in Hurricane, Utah. We are also a big presence in St. George and Southern Utah in general. But yeah, I think we have a lot of stuff all the time. This is just kind of another big thing that we're doing. But yeah, we'd love to have you. We'd love to have her. We'd love to have your families, your kiddos. Just come stop by and hang out and have a cup of tea. And that's kind of the thing is we've had amazing people just stop by for that cup of tea. And we've had some rare, amazing, beautiful, genuine conversations. That's like, if I just had a microphone right now.
That's seriously how this started. My buddy Tyson, I've told this story. I can't say 100 times because this is episode 82, but I've probably told this story 20 times where we were sitting in my truck. We were both going through some stuff. We just kind of vented more than anything to each other. And then it just snowballed into this like huge discussion about struggle and progression and gaining confidence through whatever, go through the whole thing. And at the end, he just looks at me and he's like, we should have recorded that. Like either one of us should have recorded.
Right.
And
we often think about that.
And he's like,
shoot, what did we say?
You need to start a podcast. And I'm like, I don't like being in front of people. I don't like all of that. But that's what this was. It's a medium, right?
Yeah.
Whether like we were talking before, if 20 people watch the podcast or 2,000, great. But I'm just sitting here with you guys. Like I don't have the pressure of all that on me.
Yeah, I'm getting over that. I've never really been a social media person. Like being 33, you'd think, oh yeah, I grew up in the social media, right? Social media was us growing up. Like that was like a freaking boombox in our time, But actually the social pressure and the like social expectations, but
that's nothing.
Well,
It's
and
nothing. It
even
doesn't-
today I
you're
was
putting
listening
that-
to a podcast.
You're putting that limitation on yourself. It's nothing.
Oh, and that's what the guy I listened to a podcast today, and the guy was like, "Listen, like, I'm getting ridiculed over people that aren't even freaking real.
Yeah, who
Like, they're
cares?
not even real."
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Here's the thing is you're giving them your energy. And so if you worry about what they're saying, you're letting them control your energy. And you're letting someone control your energy they'll never meet you. Most likely they've probably never done anything.
I think
And
at this point I need a social media manager where we don't read any of those.
Okay, so this is a plug for Mallory.
Mallory.
So I don't do any of that.
Yeah.
Mallory runs the entire thing.
Well, we've been doing it, and I'll tell you, it can be hardcore some days.
Yeah, my social media, like for my businesses, is subpar at best. But our podcast is killing it because we get an episode a week, we get 2 posts a day.
Amazing.
The whole thing is taken care of.
That's awesome.
And that's another thing with business is like, whether that's the podcast or the safe store with deliveries, like if you can outsource some things, you only have so much bandwidth. And so you guys focus on what you're amazing at, which is what we
Right.
just talked about the last hour and a half, and let someone else run with the things that doesn't take your energy so you can focus on what you're 100 at.
Well, and we really do advocate that way. Like, we know, especially in healthcare, we might not be able to help that person, but we know who can.
Yep.
And we can hook them up with them because it's about creating that tribe, that community sense, and connecting. And
I mean, for me, it's trust. And that's the word I keep going back to is
there you
trust.
go. Yeah.
I mean, if I trust someone, Mallory, again, I'll plug her again. Like, and maybe she can tell you, I don't know, but so she does have other clients that she does podcasts for. And I'm just like, dude, you do your thing. You call me if there's an issue. And like I said, I don't know how our other people are, but like, I don't have time for that. I don't have bandwidth for that. I'm trying to do everything I'm doing, raise a 2-year-old, have a wife. We bought that real estate property I was telling you about. And, and I'm like, you're the podcast producer. You take care of the podcast.
Maybe that's why I'm able to do all of my jobs is because I don't have a husband or children.
True.
Well, my wife allowed me to do a lot more. Getting married was the best thing I'd ever done in my entire life. I mean, she supports it. She's behind it. She's doing her own thing. You know, she's not blowing me up, wondering where I'm at. And it's not after
Good
9 o'clock here.
partnerships.
Yeah. And she has her own life. But at the same time, like, I love spending time with her. We like being together. With the time that we get together, we love being together. And
Have you guys ever done a podcast together?
she won't come on.
Okay.
I'm trying to right now.
That would be fun.
So she has it's called Desert Life, Health and Wellness.
Okay.
And she's doing like IVs on the side, and
Cool.
she does a little bit of Botox.
Awesome.
And then there's I'm gonna butcher the name if it even comes to mind. There's like a weight loss shot
Oh, yeah.
that she's been doing.
But we do, I support all sorts of practitioners and people. I do pop-ups at Unity that include those type of services that are fun. It's almost like that, like, girls' night evening where you've got like wine and spritzers, and you come and like market and like get a little Botox and do a little shopping and like all that, you know. So I would, I'm always like, can I have your business card?
Yeah, her business card.
This is my business, by the way, is connecting people.
Well, why I want her to come on is exactly what you guys are doing. I don't think in business, and correct me if I'm wrong, you guys would know, not me. I don't think in business women are represented as they should be. And women, as much as men, are capable of doing it. I think gender roles in general say that you're not supposed to. You know, whether you believe that or not, I don't. I mean, my wife's the breadwinner at our house, right? As far as income. And so I don't know. I want her to come on just to be like, women can do this. We can go to school. We can get masters.
We can
work,
100% support her. Not only do we support our men, I think that it definitely takes a balance in life, right?
Yin and yang.
Yin and yang. But when you are a woman and when you have to go through hard things, especially being a business owner or talking to a freaking bank guy about why you deserve this money for a company or whatever it might be, right? Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. But I think a little bit into business, KerryAnn and I were talking about, like, we had just done a lot of marketing in our community and realized that in Hurricane especially, there was a lot of freaking women business owners. And we were like, oh my gosh, like, we're connecting with these people. And she's like, I want to start a women's collective. And I'm like, okay, like, how? She's like, I want to get all these women in business, and I want to have a once a month meeting about our community and the changes that we're making and how we're showing up as women, women in business, and how we make these changes to our community, because it's about sitting on those boards. It's about showing up to those freaking meetings, no matter how stupid they are or like how much money they are. Actually, they cost a lot of money. Like, but you're sitting with these guys that have been running these towns or making these decisions based off of whether it's religion or money or zones or whatever. No. Now you've got all these new people and you've got a lot of women. So we started a women's business collective in Hurricane. It doesn't exclude St. George, but we don't have our meetings in St. George. Because
so
we
you are
drive.
doing that.
We did it.
We do it once a month.
June last year.
That is also something that you can find on our social media. Like I said, we don't exclude anybody in St. George. You are welcome to come
If you're a girl.
as a woman in business.
So you're excluding men, though.
A little bit, yeah. But I'll tell you what,
messing with you.
I might start a small men in not business or something.
Here's the thing, and again, I don't know because I've never sought out any group for women like that, but there's a ton of those for guys. Like, I can't imagine there's
so
a
many.
ton for women though.
Well, and
that's
I
what I
think
like
She
about it.
Sparks is something that exists.
It's what?
She
She Sparks is another group.
Never even heard
And
of it.
I think now there are more. And I think with St. George growing, there's quite a few. She Sparks is one of the other bigger women's groups. We're actually going to one of their conferences this weekend. But it's one of those things that you work as a collective because you are a woman. You're a woman in business.
Sure.
And then you want to support one another. And we're doing it differently than men. And, I don't want to be
You're
offensive.
different than guys. You should.
Yeah. It's more competition based with men. And with women, I would say there can be that competition, but I think that when you work as a collective, you're so much stronger.
Okay.
And so we've learned that, and the women that we work with are on board with that. We came up with, we had this idea just based on like we're seeing so many women in business, and she's like, I just want to do something cool. And it's like, okay, let's do it. But we don't know what to expect. But all these women jumped on board and they have the same vision and the same mission. We came up with it together, actually. And it's a collective thing. It's not our thing. It's a collective thing. And these women come out of nowhere. We have like 175 people now.
Wow.
And it can be overwhelming because it's like another thing on our list.
Sure.
But when you attend these meetings, it's so powerful. And it actually just fuels our fire and everything that we're passionate about. And that's the cool thing is we're not competitive with each other. We have other yoga studios that opened up around the same time or even later than us. And everyone's like, oh, are you so worried about that? And every time we're literally not in competition because the right people are going to find themselves in the right place at that right time. And we're all here to support each other. Business is not easy.
Sure.
Business in general is not easy. And I can understand why people go cutthroat or like mean or whatever. But again, bring it back to the present. Connect. Provide the same community within yourself and to each other that you want. And that's just what we do.
And is the information for that on the Unity Instagram?
You want to know
or do you have
what?
a
That
separate
one is a little bit harder to get to. It's through Facebook.
Okay.
But there is an article in St. George News about me and about creating the Women's Business Collective. Jessie Bang is an amazing
With the St. George News, yeah.
Just working with the St. George News.
And if any woman in business, whether they're a new entrepreneur or they've been in business for a while and they're looking for connections or...
Which they should be, regardless.
Yeah. I encourage them to get a hold of us. I mean, you can find our information on Google. If you Google Unity Health and Wellness, text me. I would love to set up a tea time or a lunch and have you come to our space and just talk. And that's how we do it. Just like you do it. Yeah. So, but yeah, I'm really thankful to be here and thank you for having us.
Yeah. I think it went great. I told you guys, I'm like, let's just stop. Let's get going because we can just go.
Yeah.
I'm like, But then again, I'm like, I've been craving taco.
Yeah, they're like,
It is Taco
we need to get
Tuesday.
this done because we need to go eat.
Taco Tuesday.
All right, well, we'll wrap it up. That's episode 82. Thanks for coming.
82.
Appreciate you guys.
8 and 2 are really good numbers.
There you go. All right, guys, that's the Derick
Thank
Leg
you so much.
podcast, episode 82. If you want to search for these guys, Unity Healthcare is probably the easiest way to get
Unity
in touch
Health
with you
and
guys.
Wellness.
Unity Health and Wellness. And the Instagram is
Unity Health Utah.
Utah.
Really, everything is Unity Health Utah.
Yeah.
Unity Health Utah.
And you
Okay.
can find us Unity Health Utah. We're located in Hurricane.
All right. Reach out to these guys if you're ever interested in this, or just stop by, like she said, and have some tea and some lunch.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here this week, and we'll see you guys next week.